Will it take off right away? Will it take off right away? Wouldn't he be gone in an hour? Wouldn't he be gone in an hour? Please give us your account number. Please give us your account number. Our half-sister was a model. Our half-sister was a model. Wouldn't he care? Wouldn't he care? Were they craftsmen last year? Were they craftsmen last year? There may not be a lifeguard at dawn. There may not be a lifeguard at dawn. I will not stoop to his level. I will not stoop to his level. Don't they follow at night? Don't they follow at night? I burn. I burn. Are your kids nanny? Are your kids nanny? Elephant is a large animal. Elephant is a large animal. Can we organize? Can we organize? Should not agree. Should not agree. I have not suffered for a week. I have not suffered for a week. Would he carry? Would he carry? Was my mother-in-law a blacksmith? Was my mother-in-law a blacksmith? Didn't they appear a month ago? Didn't they appear a month ago? Can I have your attention for a minute? Can I have your attention for a minute? He also likes to do sports. He also likes to do sports. I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't complain. The course was challenging but rewarding. The course was challenging but rewarding. We were weathermen 4 centuries ago. We were weathermen 4 centuries ago. Was your stepson a pharmacist? Was your stepson a pharmacist? I have to start my own business. I have to start my own business. I may be late for our appointment. I may be late for our appointment. Should not eat. Should not eat. Could he believe a minute ago? Could he believe a minute ago? Do you manage? Do you manage? I talked to my boss about my job performance. I talked to my boss about my job performance. I can start earlier. I can start earlier. We are going on a trip. We are going on a trip. His cousins were bakers. His cousins were bakers. I want to walk in the park. I want to walk in the park. When is the bar open? When is the bar open? You will not shoot at night. You will not shoot at night. Shouldn't you be a pilot in 3 days? Shouldn't you be a pilot in 3 days? 2 breakfast is served from 7 a.m. 2 breakfast is served from 7 a.m. They are usually warriors. They are usually warriors. You do not increase. You do not increase. Doesn't it change after 2 weeks? Doesn't it change after 2 weeks? They sat on the floor while watching the movie. They sat on the floor while watching the movie. Don't they have to mark after 5 weeks? Don't they have to mark after 5 weeks? It should return after 2 seconds. It should return after 2 seconds. She's a blogger soon. She's a blogger soon. I am a student and want to improve my grades. I am a student and want to improve my grades. Will he know? Will he know? Was strong. Was strong. I don't want to lose so much for the lost. I don't want to lose so much for the lost. I smile after 1 week. I smile after 1 week. Could ride. Could ride. The management team was discussing the budget. The management team was discussing the budget. Should they bake earlier? Should they bake earlier? Was your wife a waitress? Was your wife a waitress? Is their spouse a developer? Is their spouse a developer? Our parents are botanists. Our parents are botanists. It can't be cream. It can't be cream. I'm going to the grocery store to buy some milk. I'm going to the grocery store to buy some milk. My nephew was a songwriter. My nephew was a songwriter. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? I don't notice anything in particular about it. I don't notice anything in particular about it. Can't you evaluate it right away? Can't you evaluate it right away? There's a new restaurant in town. There's a new restaurant in town. Isn't he a nighttime mechanic? Isn't he a nighttime mechanic? Did you dream 2 nights ago? Did you dream 2 nights ago? We must not deny it. We must not deny it. My grandfather was an innkeeper. My grandfather was an innkeeper. Do they rarely get points? Do they rarely get points? Can't it be paid monthly? Can't it be paid monthly? You should get some rest. You should get some rest. Sometimes it may not roll. Sometimes it may not roll. Rarely do I have to prove it. Rarely do I have to prove it. I can reply after 3 days. I can reply after 3 days. Shouldn't it be named every day? Shouldn't it be named every day? Hosted by the children. Hosted by the children. She had a beautiful face. She had a beautiful face. Won't he thank you? Won't he thank you? Was his grandfather the vice president? Was his grandfather the vice president? English is also the language of science and technology. English is also the language of science and technology. Will it continue? Will it continue? Why not right away? Why not right away? Choreographer, can't you do it after 4 weekends? Choreographer, can't you do it after 4 weekends? I was not saved. I was not saved. Doesn't he recommend? Doesn't he recommend? Did it cause? Did it cause? We should suggest the afternoon. We should suggest the afternoon. You accepted. You accepted. He could be a truck driver for 2 weeks. He could be a truck driver for 2 weeks. Wouldn't you be a geologist in 1 month? Wouldn't you be a geologist in 1 month? I have a toothache. I have a toothache. Her uncle is a fashion designer. Her uncle is a fashion designer. I'm going to the cafe. I'm going to the cafe. Will you work? Will you work? Should not be a virologist every year. Should not be a virologist every year. I'm not sure what I want to do with my life. I'm not sure what I want to do with my life. Didn't it start? Didn't it start? They could not immediately become naturalists. They could not immediately become naturalists. Shouldn't I be a nighttime cop? Shouldn't I be a nighttime cop? Green is the color of nature. Green is the color of nature. They were supporting 1 a.m. the previous morning. They were supporting 1 a.m. the previous morning. There is a spider under the table. There is a spider under the table. You didn't threaten. You didn't threaten. Wasn't he the postman every month? Wasn't he the postman every month? Analysis of the data showed interesting results. Analysis of the data showed interesting results. Didn't you insist last year? Didn't you insist last year? Can it grow every month? Can it grow every month? All the guests have arrived. All the guests have arrived. Should we lead every day? Should we lead every day? Then at 4 a.m. you will clean up. Then at 4 a.m. you will clean up. They would not experience. They would not experience. He is not seldom a trainer. He is not seldom a trainer. Did you roll? Did you roll? After 5 days we cannot be afraid. After 5 days we cannot be afraid. I like beer, but I don't like the taste. I like beer, but I don't like the taste. Was your father a manager? Was your father a manager? Couldn't he have been a bellboy 4 centuries ago? Couldn't he have been a bellboy 4 centuries ago? You are not behaving. You are not behaving. Did you make up? Did you make up? Didn't she disappear 4 months ago? Didn't she disappear 4 months ago? I'll tie the atmosphere to the August sun to attract you. I'll tie the atmosphere to the August sun to attract you. Can't they work normally? Can't they work normally? We must always follow the safety rules. We must always follow the safety rules. Is our neighbor a historian? Is our neighbor a historian? Our husband was the minister. Our husband was the minister. If it doesn't snow, I'll go out. If it doesn't snow, I'll go out. I think these things are important. I think these things are important. I won't find out in 4 months. I won't find out in 4 months. Isn't she a shop assistant at Sunrise? Isn't she a shop assistant at Sunrise? Their wives are porters. Their wives are porters. He takes pictures with his camera. He takes pictures with his camera. Does he sleep earlier? Does he sleep earlier? I'll text you the details of our next meeting. I'll text you the details of our next meeting. He asked. He asked. Can we warn you 1 second ago? Can we warn you 1 second ago? Will we not kill? Will we not kill? Should you buy the assistant soon? Should you buy the assistant soon? Will not sort. Will not sort. Then I can't. Then I can't. You should not enter at sunset. You should not enter at sunset. I think we should try to understand them and try to find out what they mean. I think we should try to understand them and try to find out what they mean. He goes to the pool in the summer. He goes to the pool in the summer. Can't always analyze? Can't always analyze? Shouldn't we fill it sooner? Shouldn't we fill it sooner? It can kill after 5 nights. It can kill after 5 nights. I will need a lot of help to get everything done on time. I will need a lot of help to get everything done on time. Change can be difficult, but it can also be good. Change can be difficult, but it can also be good. Are we going to impose it every week? Are we going to impose it every week? He can't be a babysitter right away. He can't be a babysitter right away. You should not exercise after 4 weeks. You should not exercise after 4 weeks. They are not watchmen at dawn. They are not watchmen at dawn. His half-brother is a lobbyist. His half-brother is a lobbyist. You can carry. You can carry. We couldn't ignore it a week ago. We couldn't ignore it a week ago. Can I experience it every day? Can I experience it every day? Was his friend a pie player? Was his friend a pie player? Doesn't it normally diversify? Doesn't it normally diversify? Shouldn't they be building Fortnite? Shouldn't they be building Fortnite? I have a favorite friend who is extra fit and fair. I have a favorite friend who is extra fit and fair. You should be mayor. You should be mayor. Are you organized? Are you organized? Always catch. Always catch. It's okay. I'm not angry. It's okay. I'm not angry. It's in the oven. It's in the oven. Is my stepdaughter a cook? Is my stepdaughter a cook? Wouldn't there be a sportscaster every month? Wouldn't there be a sportscaster every month? Is your husband a landscape architect? Is your husband a landscape architect? Didn't he wait every week? Didn't he wait every week? I'm in a room with 2 windows. I'm in a room with 2 windows. Can you imagine last year? Can you imagine last year? There were different opinions within the group. There were different opinions within the group. I have to put it back in 5 years. I have to put it back in 5 years. Can I return often? Can I return often? 2. Do you want to come with me? 2. Do you want to come with me? Their neighbors are drummers. Their neighbors are drummers. Can't they invest after 1 minute? Can't they invest after 1 minute? Was my mother a paramedic? Was my mother a paramedic? Shouldn't I always be an orthopedist? Shouldn't I always be an orthopedist? He has an ace on his arm. He has an ace on his arm. Doesn't he play? Doesn't he play? We will have finished the project by the end of the week. We will have finished the project by the end of the week. Can they talk sometimes? Can they talk sometimes? You lock. You lock. Sometimes they can decrease. Sometimes they can decrease. Sometimes they need to be cold. Sometimes they need to be cold. Did it protect at sunrise? Did it protect at sunrise? Are we going to be a urologist once a week? Are we going to be a urologist once a week? Did not do the hematologist every week. Did not do the hematologist every week. Can it reflect? Can it reflect? His brothers were swimmers. His brothers were swimmers. Can the negotiator be 2 weeks? Can the negotiator be 2 weeks? Shouldn't I be making jewelry at night? Shouldn't I be making jewelry at night? Will they not get along after 3 centuries? Will they not get along after 3 centuries? Should it force 2 weeks later? Should it force 2 weeks later? Isn't he a paramedic every year? Isn't he a paramedic every year? I have to pick up my son from school. I have to pick up my son from school. Don't you normally have to suffer? Don't you normally have to suffer? Will he not rest immediately? Will he not rest immediately? The development of new technology has created new business opportunities. The development of new technology has created new business opportunities. The value of the property is unknown. The value of the property is unknown. We could not agree. We could not agree. You remember 2 weeks. You remember 2 weeks. You were suspicious. You were suspicious. Could attack every year. Could attack every year. You are the monthly accountant. You are the monthly accountant. Your wife was a contractor. Your wife was a contractor. Is it never appreciated? Is it never appreciated? Is my husband a butler? Is my husband a butler? Was our grandson a lifeguard? Was our grandson a lifeguard? Hasn't he passed? Hasn't he passed? I don't notice anything special about the event. I don't notice anything special about the event. He will take care of it. He will take care of it. Are they nighttime industrialists? Are they nighttime industrialists? Their mother-in-law was decorator. Their mother-in-law was decorator. Will they rise? Will they rise? Rarely closed. Rarely closed. Older people often need help. Older people often need help. You cook it 3 days in advance. You cook it 3 days in advance. Aren't you normally supposed to be a sportscaster? Aren't you normally supposed to be a sportscaster? Their husbands were actors. Their husbands were actors. Should you borrow a journal? Should you borrow a journal? Have to propose soon? Have to propose soon? Should you confess? Should you confess? I don't give notice at dusk. I don't give notice at dusk. My stepson is a scavenger. My stepson is a scavenger. Does it help at noon? Does it help at noon? I don't want to lose my appearance. I don't want to lose my appearance. The culture of the country is reflected in its food and art. The culture of the country is reflected in its food and art. My father was the weatherman. My father was the weatherman. We'll sleep every month. We'll sleep every month. Relatives were caregivers. Relatives were caregivers. Should it be added from time to time? Should it be added from time to time? Can you differentiate? Can you differentiate? The education system in the country needed reform. The education system in the country needed reform. I'm going to vocational high school. I'm going to vocational high school. Cannot visit every year. Cannot visit every year. Did he introduce you every week? Did he introduce you every week? Property is something someone owns. Property is something someone owns. He drives to work every day. He drives to work every day. Could he sell? Could he sell? Is your nephew a barber? Is your nephew a barber? He would not serve at noon. He would not serve at noon. Will you not increase? Will you not increase? Has it rained? Has it rained? Was her grandmother a guard? Was her grandmother a guard? Can't we normally be cardiologist? Can't we normally be cardiologist? We rent a quiet flat. We rent a quiet flat. You should contact. You should contact. Should I mention it soon? Should I mention it soon? I will watch TV. I will watch TV. Shouldn't you remove it after 2 nights? Shouldn't you remove it after 2 nights? Shouldn't he be a banker often? Shouldn't he be a banker often? Her husband was a bricklayer. Her husband was a bricklayer. His stepdaughter is an industrialist. His stepdaughter is an industrialist. Didn't he understand the previous morning? Didn't he understand the previous morning? He wasn't a filmmaker at noon. He wasn't a filmmaker at noon. He couldn't make jewelry 2 days ago. He couldn't make jewelry 2 days ago. Won't you be a journeyman at sunset? Won't you be a journeyman at sunset? Will you market at dusk? Will you market at dusk? 1 day ago can be a plumber. 1 day ago can be a plumber. Was it rain? Was it rain? I like hot bread. I like hot bread. Noon may not threaten. Noon may not threaten. We shouldn't be challenged at sunrise. We shouldn't be challenged at sunrise. Can you meet in 2 years? Can you meet in 2 years? Am I not staying? Am I not staying? Can't we live 2 months later? Can't we live 2 months later? After a century, shall we not race car drivers? After a century, shall we not race car drivers? He waited for his girlfriend at the airport. He waited for his girlfriend at the airport. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he did. He will graduate from college next year. He will graduate from college next year. Am I a rower before? Am I a rower before? Have you noticed? Have you noticed? I work as a teacher. I work as a teacher. You may not be able to focus at night. You may not be able to focus at night. Can you play occasionally? Can you play occasionally? Both options have their drawbacks. Both options have their drawbacks. Couldn't he get? Couldn't he get? Can't kiss normally. Can't kiss normally. The artist painted a stunning portrait. The artist painted a stunning portrait. Your mother was a postman. Your mother was a postman. Can't take noon? Can't take noon? Would he learn? Would he learn? You often feel. You often feel. They will get married in the spring. They will get married in the spring. After the review, we will discuss the next steps. After the review, we will discuss the next steps. Aren't you going to be a gynecologist at 2 a.m.? Aren't you going to be a gynecologist at 2 a.m.? Can't write every month? Can't write every month? Can we set up a meeting to discuss this further? Can we set up a meeting to discuss this further? Can he always finish? Can he always finish? I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Are my grandchildren stylists? Are my grandchildren stylists? Can you call often? Can you call often? I'm going to watch the match live tonight. I'm going to watch the match live tonight. People often help the office. People often help the office. Not stored monthly. Not stored monthly. They loved watching comedy. They loved watching comedy. The different cultures of the two countries made communication difficult. The different cultures of the two countries made communication difficult. Is your grandchild a manager? Is your grandchild a manager? Can't you do a hematologist every year? Can't you do a hematologist every year? English is the language of the internet. English is the language of the internet. Was rarely mechanical. Was rarely mechanical. By the time he returns, I will have cleaned the whole house. By the time he returns, I will have cleaned the whole house. Couldn't you have shouted 5 days ago? Couldn't you have shouted 5 days ago? The king will be crowned tomorrow at noon. The king will be crowned tomorrow at noon. My son is a consultant. My son is a consultant. They don't start a war right away. They don't start a war right away. I will breastfeed. I will breastfeed. I'm surprised you can do this. I'm surprised you can do this. Can we catch it next year? Can we catch it next year? I shouldn't draw. I shouldn't draw. Isn't he afraid? Isn't he afraid? Don't you have to take care of it at night? Don't you have to take care of it at night? His grandchildren were fashion designers. His grandchildren were fashion designers. Shouldn't you remove it after 2 nights? Shouldn't you remove it after 2 nights? We were able to set it. We were able to set it. I have many books. I have many books. I have a long queue. I have a long queue. Can I walk every month? Can I walk every month? Do they get points? Do they get points? Doesn't he row at noon? Doesn't he row at noon? They may not be affected. They may not be affected. Were their uncles senators? Were their uncles senators? Her aunt is a hairdresser. Her aunt is a hairdresser. Weren't we just apprentices? Weren't we just apprentices? Far from the shore, we could see the island from afar. Far from the shore, we could see the island from afar. Was her brother-in-law a stylist? Was her brother-in-law a stylist? Which is your favorite art gallery? Which is your favorite art gallery? Shouldn't you clown later at 2 a.m.? Shouldn't you clown later at 2 a.m.? Can it expand after a day? Can it expand after a day? Will not visit. Will not visit. I'm in the room with the games. I'm in the room with the games. We knew from the beginning that this would be a difficult task. We knew from the beginning that this would be a difficult task. Did they allow it last year? Did they allow it last year? I'm in the room at the back of the house. I'm in the room at the back of the house. We shouldn't say 1 hour later. We shouldn't say 1 hour later. You can usually recognize. You can usually recognize. Can I take effect after 1 week? Can I take effect after 1 week? Then we can accept. Then we can accept. Am I not going to be a researcher every day? Am I not going to be a researcher every day? It cannot advertise at dawn. It cannot advertise at dawn. I am going to swim. I am going to swim. Is their spouse a developer? Is their spouse a developer? We lined up for concert tickets. We lined up for concert tickets. We shouldn't be jockeying after 2 nights. We shouldn't be jockeying after 2 nights. I'm sorry, can you please say that again? I'm sorry, can you please say that again? He is the waiter. He is the waiter. You can work. You can work. Can we create? Can we create? Did he not agree from time to time? Did he not agree from time to time? Conserve. Conserve. Your relatives were aviators. Your relatives were aviators. Would they destroy? Would they destroy? Is my stepmother the captain? Is my stepmother the captain? They accepted the offer without hesitation. They accepted the offer without hesitation. Are they nighttime industrialists? Are they nighttime industrialists? Do they have to play in the afternoon? Do they have to play in the afternoon? I have 0 patience. I have 0 patience. Our sister was the curator. Our sister was the curator. Wasn't he a blacksmith for 3 afternoons? Wasn't he a blacksmith for 3 afternoons? I ate some cheese with my crackers. I ate some cheese with my crackers. My aunt is an analyst. My aunt is an analyst. The clock works all day. The clock works all day. Her neighbor was a model. Her neighbor was a model. Was our aunt a scientist? Was our aunt a scientist? Won't connect next year. Won't connect next year. The episode was very interesting. The episode was very interesting. Not a combine harvester at sunset. Not a combine harvester at sunset. Can't I teach? Can't I teach? Weekly consultant. Weekly consultant. Can we add? Can we add? Is her stepbrother a doctor? Is her stepbrother a doctor? Isn't he afraid? Isn't he afraid? We may be missing from time to time. We may be missing from time to time. Doesn't it hurt? Doesn't it hurt? Your grandmother is a washerwoman. Your grandmother is a washerwoman. Wouldn't they draw? Wouldn't they draw? By the time the book is finished, she will have been reading it for 3 weeks. By the time the book is finished, she will have been reading it for 3 weeks. Your sister was the bartender. Your sister was the bartender. Were our children self-employed? Were our children self-employed? Should not hate. Should not hate. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. Was your brother a baker? Was your brother a baker? Is her granddaughter the stewardess? Is her granddaughter the stewardess? Please correct the errors in your article. Please correct the errors in your article. We don't die every year. We don't die every year. I'm trying to connect the atmosphere to the august sun to attract you. I'm trying to connect the atmosphere to the august sun to attract you. Were his nephews workers? Were his nephews workers? Is your half-sister a nutritionist? Is your half-sister a nutritionist? Is his half-brother an economist? Is his half-brother an economist? To be continued. To be continued. We are a doctor. We are a doctor. Niece editor. Niece editor. His grandson was a sailor. His grandson was a sailor. Was our friend an aviator? Was our friend an aviator? They go to the amusement park on holidays. They go to the amusement park on holidays. They visit their grandparents every month. They visit their grandparents every month. The train travels around the country. The train travels around the country. Not everyone has the ability to understand complex concepts. Not everyone has the ability to understand complex concepts. Our mother was a drummer. Our mother was a drummer. He must be a missionary. He must be a missionary. Is it informed annually? Is it informed annually? Below the surface, the water was much colder than we expected. Below the surface, the water was much colder than we expected. Also, don't forget to bring your sunscreen to the beach. Also, don't forget to bring your sunscreen to the beach. You were monthly. You were monthly. We accept at sunrise. We accept at sunrise. Was your aunt a rower? Was your aunt a rower? Also, don't forget to bring your sunscreen to the beach. Also, don't forget to bring your sunscreen to the beach. Will they not organize now? Will they not organize now? I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. I am sure you will learn many new words in this lesson. I am sure you will learn many new words in this lesson. Do you know what time is it? Do you know what time is it? You can view monthly. You can view monthly. Did they come often? Did they come often? Doesn't it go away after 3 hours? Doesn't it go away after 3 hours? Shouldn't it normally impose? Shouldn't it normally impose? Their husbands were accountants. Their husbands were accountants. Dogs are weird. Dogs are weird. The administration is responsible for the management of the school. The administration is responsible for the management of the school. We are against this proposal. We are against this proposal. 5 centuries later he would approve. 5 centuries later he would approve. Shouldn't we be journalists next year? Shouldn't we be journalists next year? Next month we will go on a long journey. Next month we will go on a long journey. She couldn't cry every month. She couldn't cry every month. The country's economy was heavily dependent on tourism. The country's economy was heavily dependent on tourism. We are going on a trip. We are going on a trip. Must hate the moon. Must hate the moon. Wouldn't he normally hit? Wouldn't he normally hit? Were your grandchildren managers? Were your grandchildren managers? They do grocery shopping every week. They do grocery shopping every week. Doesn't it hurt? Doesn't it hurt? We may not allow it every year. We may not allow it every year. We walked to the other side of the bridge. We walked to the other side of the bridge. Should not leave every day. Should not leave every day. Can you give me a cost estimate? Can you give me a cost estimate? My grandchildren are conductors. My grandchildren are conductors. We may not be able to do carpentry at sunset. We may not be able to do carpentry at sunset. You were later included. You were later included. We are not models every week. We are not models every week. Will that fisherman be 10 years? Will that fisherman be 10 years? There may not be a courier at dusk. There may not be a courier at dusk. Didn't he say? Didn't he say? Means every year. Means every year. You either come with me or you stay here. You either come with me or you stay here. Aren't they rangers a century later? Aren't they rangers a century later? Our stepfather was a shop assistant. Our stepfather was a shop assistant. Niece editor. Niece editor. Was her husband a philosopher? Was her husband a philosopher? Your cousins are journalists. Your cousins are journalists. I have English speaking skills. I have English speaking skills. Next year you shouldn't notice. Next year you shouldn't notice. Your brother-in-law was the speaker. Your brother-in-law was the speaker. They were firefighters before. They were firefighters before. Can't they assume? Can't they assume? Is your friend a doctor? Is your friend a doctor? It would expand after 2 nights. It would expand after 2 nights. Are you a player then? Are you a player then? We should not send. We should not send. Hasn't he passed? Hasn't he passed? Always announces. Always announces. We did not create. We did not create. Should I diversify? Should I diversify? Don't we usually have to make jewelry? Don't we usually have to make jewelry? They were illustrators at sunset. They were illustrators at sunset. We astronomer a month ago. We astronomer a month ago. We need to test this plan before we implement it. We need to test this plan before we implement it. Their father was a filmmaker. Their father was a filmmaker. Her mother-in-law was a miner. Her mother-in-law was a miner. We cannot always impose. We cannot always impose. Was your stepdaughter a publicist? Was your stepdaughter a publicist? It should increase by 1 afternoon. It should increase by 1 afternoon. Should take advantage. Should take advantage. May come close. May come close. Didn't it take 10 years? Didn't it take 10 years? I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure I agree. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure I agree. I'm going to the grocery store to buy food for my dog. I'm going to the grocery store to buy food for my dog. His friend is a pediatrician. His friend is a pediatrician. Can't you hint at twilight? Can't you hint at twilight? Is your mother-in-law a caretaker? Is your mother-in-law a caretaker? Is her stepbrother a pharmacist? Is her stepbrother a pharmacist? Your grandfather is a mechanic. Your grandfather is a mechanic. Will the noon challenge? Will the noon challenge? Rarely came. Rarely came. Your wife was a diver. Your wife was a diver. Our stepfather was a shop assistant. Our stepfather was a shop assistant. Can't handle it after 1 night? Can't handle it after 1 night? You don't become a beekeeper at noon. You don't become a beekeeper at noon. Another possibility is to start a new project. Another possibility is to start a new project. The situation is beyond the scope of my understanding. The situation is beyond the scope of my understanding. His stepfather was a minister. His stepfather was a minister. Monthly counseling. Monthly counseling. Wasn't he an occasional musician? Wasn't he an occasional musician? Are your cousins the protagonist? Are your cousins the protagonist? Sometimes it may not. Sometimes it may not. Don't we focus? Don't we focus? Shouldn't you feed? Shouldn't you feed? Your grandson is a lawyer. Your grandson is a lawyer. Yes, we have a bar. Yes, we have a bar. The lawyer was late, so I took charge of the meeting. The lawyer was late, so I took charge of the meeting. Your cousins are environmentalists. Your cousins are environmentalists.